Saral, you're starting or you want me to start? Okay, ठीक है.
Hello everyone, good evening to all of you.
Good evening guys.
Welcome to the second
very good
slot
evening
analysis.
once again from BYJU'S Exam Prep.
So I and Srinivas sir both are here to talk about the slot 2 analysis. We both have written it and I'm sure we'll be able to give you some authentic figures regarding the same. Right, Srinivas sir?
Yeah, firstly I would like to talk about my experiences. One of the most smooth experiences that I've had. Normally ऐसा होता है कि every year I travel for about 150-160 kilometers up and down. But this time I think CAT has basically seen pity in me and then said, okay, 5 kilometers is the maximum distance you're going to go. So my center was about 4 kilometers away. So travel, in fact, the entire process was quite smooth in today's CAT. There were no glitches at all. So that's something which I would like to talk and speak about it upfront. They've done a very good job, at least the center that I was in. Well, how was your experience, Saral? How far did you have to travel?
That's what I was saying, that I feel that it was same across the centers, because even at my center, I was actually surprised to see how smooth the process was, because I went at 11 o'clock and the exam was at 12:30, so I thought it will take time, generally it takes a lot of time. But when I went there, I saw that this time there were queues to enter. I mean, otherwise generally we used to have just 1 or 2 queues. So this time 5-6 queues were there to enter. Then 5-6 queues were there for the frisking part as well. When we went above there also, everything was so smooth. We found actually 5-6 counters in place of one. This is the difference that I saw, and I can talk about the difference because मेरा तो center भी वही था जो last year था. Same slot, same center. I actually could see that difference.
So you have a good comparison, and I think the rules were a bit more relaxed this time. The frisking was not that. I mean, they were not letting. They were not asking people to remove everything that way. In fact, I think they were a bit relaxed this time for whatever reason. But it's a good thing, good sign, I believe.
Absolutely, absolutely. I actually put my ring finger at home. लेकिन वहाँ जाके पता लगा they were not actually asking for that.
Last time it was a big issue for a lot of students, but this time I think they've been a little bit more sensitized.
Probably people were allowed with their belts as well.
Yes.
Otherwise last time
I went in with the belt.
They were not allowed with it. Acha. Okay. That's great. So I'm very sure that many people here, almost everyone is eagerly waiting for that analysis now. Sir, हुआ क्या, जरा ये बताओ exactly how did it go, how was the exam according to you? They want to know about it. So as I said that I and Srinivas, we both have written the exam, and we also have little info about the slot 1, so we'll be talking about this I mean a little bit. So first of all, if I talk about the overall impression of the exam for me, when I looked at the verbal ability section, I did not find much of a difference, because anyways I never find too much of difference. It's always difficult for me. मुझे हमेशा ऐसा ही लगता है. But this time, fortunately, as I was talking about it, पहली बार शायद ऐसा हुआ कि एक जो सेट था ऑक्टोपस वाला, उसमें मुझे लगा that I got all my questions correct. I never felt that during the exam time. Did you see that, Srinivas?
Yeah. So that's one thing which I noticed this year too. There were 1 or 2 passages, at least in the afternoon slate I can say for sure, that the passages were readable. Normally ऐसा होता है कि there are 1 or 2 passages which will completely go bouncers. But this time, at least the passages were understandable. So that's one good point about VARC. But as we already mentioned that a lot in our sessions, in verbal sessions, if the passages are readable, then the questions is where they are going to, make things difficult. So I think that's what happened this VARC too. At least my opinion is that the questions were not straightforward. There were quite a few questions on inferences. Even the direct questions were not very easy, because the direct questions were like, okay, which of the following the author did not say? And it was not inference, directly what was the author talking about. So you have to look at the entire passage, pick the 3 points which are correct and the 4th point which is incorrect, and then point it out. So so they tried to give the passages doable, but the questions were not that straightforward. Did you feel the same?
Right. So I'll first of all say good afternoon to all the newcomers as well, and I do agree with you, Srinivas. I mean on that, in verbal ability, actually we saw a lot many questions there, in which it was there that which of the following will weaken the argument except
Correct.
as you
So
said,
it's not just
double
weakening,
negatives,
it's there will be 3 of them which will weaken, and then the 4th one will not weaken. So it's a kind of a double negative where you have to search for every option and then see whether it's weakening or not, and then look at one option. So that is actually time consuming. So that's where the problem comes in as far as the RC parts go.
Yes. So Jay Prajapati is saying LOD was high for the slot. I think Anuja is also saying सर टेंशन आ रहा है, बाकी सब बोल रहे हैं कि पेपर बहुत डिफिकल्ट था और मेरा तो डिफिकल्ट नहीं गया, थोड़ा था VRC बट इतना भी नहीं. Now look at this, when you get a paper in which you feel it was easy, others are saying difficult, you start feeling कुछ तो गड़बड़ है. मुझे आसान लग रहा है और बाकियों को difficult लग रहा है.
नहीं, ये
when you feel difficult, others are
this
saying it is
happens in
again there is
quant and
a
LRD
problem.
also. You get the set very easily and you're like, did I do something wrong? How can I get an answer so fast? That's a typical feeling, Anuja, so don't worry about
Absolutely.
it. I think you have done a good job. Just relax and focus on the next exam coming your way. So, but let's go ahead and take a look at the other 2 sections too. So, DILR, Saral sir, so tell me, how did you feel this particular DILR compared to the morning slot or the last year's also for that matter?
So I think let's first look at the overall structure once. I'll come to DI as well, because DI is something that we all are very eagerly waiting for, that how exactly was it. I'm sure the students would also be waiting for it. इसलिए Srinivas sir भी कह रहे हैं that they all are waiting for it. Straight away start talking about DILR. Let's have a little bit about the overall structure of the paper first of all, that how was the paper pattern of slot 2. So if I talk about all 3 sections, as you can see on the screen, once again the number of questions was absolutely similar.
Yeah, this is no change from last year, and the structure was also more or less the same from the morning slot. I don't think there was any difference.
Absolutely, and I think even theta questions did not change, right?
No, the number of questions were same. Number of non-MCQs were 3, 6 and 8, morning and afternoon.
Okay. Yes, है ना, वो भी मेरे ख्याल से दोनों ही same हैं. They were all
perfectly
3, 6
same.
and 8.
Correct.
है ना, so the difficulty level, if I talk about, so in slot 2 we are saying VRC was slightly on the moderate side, DILR again moderate side, quant moderate to difficult, but actually speaking, so as Srinivas sir was talking about the DILR session specifically, so it was actually we feel easier than that of slot 1.
Yeah.
है ना, पक्का ही शायद slot 1 से आसान.
I think we'll get to the DILR and we'll talk about why it is. But guys, understand that we feel that DILR slot 2 was, in a nutshell, at least 1 notch easier than the morning. Morning was difficult. I'm not saying DILR was easy right now, but yeah, relatively it is doable.
I think one of the reasons for that was the DI set.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
I feel so, because generally students feel कि DI थोड़ा सा आसान side.
In fact, I keep telling all my students, search for the DI set. So Subha walo ko they would not have got it. But yeah, pleasant surprise for the for afternoon slot students. I think that one DI set would have given guaranteed 12 marks to a lot of students, because 15 marks now. That's another good point. One simple set will give you 5 questions. That's 15 marks without any tricks in that. Straightforward tha. So I think that's a very scoring set, and that gives you enough confidence and time left out for the remaining 3 sets. You can easily finish the first set, 5 questions in about 8-9 minutes, move on to another set, and see how it goes after that.
Rather, I think that's an important point you just brought up, Srinivas sir. Actually, मुझे भी लग रहा है कि बच्चों को actually ये लग रहा है that if they have done 2 sets, they are probably feeling that we have done
because
only 2 sets.
2 versus,
but actually that means 10 questions.
It is always 2.5 of students. They forget that 2.5 normally was 10 to 12 questions. Here 2 is 10.
Right. 2 is 10, actually 2 is 10. So even if they have done 2.5 sets, that means they are 12 to 13 questions, which probably can be more than 99%.
Definitely. If a student in this slot attempts about 14 questions and get even 11 to 12 correct, I think they have done an excellent job. Because the paper was not easy, for sure. But yeah, you've picked the right 2 sets, you can probably crack the 2 sets in about 25 minutes. 2 sets हो जाएंगे, so you'll be left with 15 minutes and one more not easy set to pick up, but you can do that in 15 minutes.
बिल्कुल. So if I look at the figures here, first of all, when I talk about VARC section, so we are feeling that the level of difficulty was moderate, so we will also be explaining it with respect to slot 1. but a good attempt for a 99 percentile was 40 to 42, as you can see on the screen. According to us, that could have been, I mean, 40 to 42 means a net 13 to 14 questions correct can probably give you 99 percentile in VARC section. In DILR, it is around 36 to 39, whereas in QA we are feeling it is around 34 to 36. Definitely we are feeling QA was slightly more difficult than slot 1.
Yeah.
VARC was slightly more difficult, and DILR was
In fact,
slightly on the
English,
easier side.
I would not be surprised, Saral, if the 99 percentile drops to 40 also. I feel so, because while we are talking about 40 to 42, I think even at 40 I will not be surprised, because the paper with respect to last year, I would not, with respect to the morning slot, I would say it's more or less similar, but the advantage is people already know that there are 2 easy questions in that new format that have come. So if smart guys would have picked it up, made sure that those 2 are not missed. So small things like this will add up to that extra 1 or 2 points compared to the morning slot. So I think morning we have given around 38 to 39, if I'm not mistaken, I believe, right? So probably 1 or 2 marks on top of that. But yeah, on the whole, at least the English I would say it is comparable to the morning slot, probably a little bit higher than that, but otherwise it's comparable. But yeah, I think DILR and Quant have a bit of change. Quant morning slot, everybody is like it's easy, but definitely this was not an easy paper at all. In fact, I was struggling to find easy questions. I keep telling students that there will always be sitters, 5-6 sitters. मुश्किल से मुझे 3 ऐसे कुछ questions मिले which can be done easily, but others had to be solved. That's how the paper was for QA. DILR, yes, on the other side, slightly saving grace, doable sets there. So whatever Quant will decrease will probably kind of make up in the DILR part, and English more or less remaining same, or 1 or 2 marks extra advantage. That's it. So that's, I think, in a nutshell, the comparison of morning slot versus the afternoon slot. In fact,
So I see actually many people are asking for QA and LRDA. They also want to discuss some of the questions. They want to know about it, that are we getting right answers or wrong?
Okay.
Someone is saying I've done 7-8 questions. Someone is saying 9-10 questions. Let's have a look at the overall structure. So please, Srinivas, can you take forward that? I mean the comparison that we see on the screen.
Yes. So we are talking about the first slot, where we are saying that 38 to 40 was the score expected for a 99 percentile in English. As I said, the English level was more or less same. The only advantage would be that 1 or 2 marks advantage for a student, simply because now the surprise element is done, so students know what to expect and what to attack. So that is the reason why I would say that you might get 1 or 2 marks higher for the same level of students, same attempts in the afternoon slot. So 40-42 would be the 90 percentile range. I would bet on a 40 to 41 to be more honest. DILR, definitely I would say 1 to 2 questions easily could have been done compared to what happened in the morning slot. Morning slot, I didn't write it, but based on what everybody was talking about, based on how my colleagues, my team members have written, I can say that afternoon was a happier DILR. Usually, students go to Quant crying. I don't think many of them would have gone to Quant crying there. So I would say about 2 questions would be the difference makers between the afternoon slot and the morning slot. So we are saying about 6 to 9 marks, 6 marks approximately is the difference between the morning to the afternoon slot. So definitely DILR was relatively easier. And Quant, again, the reverse effect. Definitely it was not the same level as the morning. It was more difficult. Morning slot, in fact, a lot of people said that there were 5 to 6 sitters. Here the sitters were probably 2 or 3, and even they will require 2 steps, not a single step for you to get an answer. Right, sir? Please correct me if I'm not wrong. If I am wrong, that is. Were there any questions you felt which were like, एक sentence आ गया, then you got the answer and done?
हाँ, ऐसा तो कहीं भी नहीं दिखाई दिया. I mean, actually it was slightly on the even I found it slightly on the difficult side, because I remember last time I appeared for CAT, there were some questions. There was a question on replacement, there was a question on percentages, which were like that, okay, immediately look at the question, within 20-25 seconds you are able to get the answer directly by putting some formula. No single question here, rather one question that we were just talking about, the question on factorials, 15,000 factorial divided by n factorial whole factorial. So though it was easy by putting the options,
Correct.
you could have got it.
But again, there is
still
option
it was
D.
looking like कहीं कुछ गलत तो नहीं सोच रहा हूँ. I'm doing something wrong. ऐसा कुछ दिमाग में बार बार आ भी रहा था.
Correct.
कि कुछ तो गड़बड़ हम लोग कर रहे हैं.
The logs
हाँ,
question also,
बहुत लोग
inequality
तो-
of logs. Again, इतने आसान नहीं थे वो, all of these questions, because it requires knowledge and knowledge about lot of things. Knowledge about logarithms, knowledge about inequalities. There were no direct fitting of the options and लो answer आ गया.
एक्चुअली एल्जेब्रा वाले क्वेश्चंस जो थे वो मुझे तो काफी ही डिफिकल्ट लगे एक बार देखने में. मैं एक बार सब लोगों को बता दूं, वी विल बी डिस्कसिंग दोज क्वेश्चंस, राइट. क्वांट के तकरीबन आउट ऑफ 22 क्वेश्चंस, एज आई प्रॉमिस्ड यू, दैट अप्रोक्सीमेटली एटलीस्ट 17-18 क्वेश्चंस आई वुड बी डिस्कसिंग टुडे, एंड आई वुड बी डूइंग दैट इन दिस सेशन ओनली. अबाउट DIL ऑल्सो, LR ऑल्सो वी विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट, उसके बारे में भी थोड़ा सा बात करेंगे थोड़ी देर के बाद. बट यस, फर्स्ट व्हेन वी लुक एट द कंपैरिजन ऑफ स्लॉट 1 and 2, वी कैन शॉर्टली से स्लॉट 2 का क्वांट was definitely on slightly difficult side. Verbal, as Srinivas has also said, that slightly on the difficult side you can say. बहुत ज़्यादा difference शायद ना हो. और DILR की जहाँ तक बात होती है, पक्का ही आसान था पहले slot के मुकाबले. Because I remember once again, so when I started doing it, I started the first set एकदम से हो गया, second भी हो गया, तो मुझे लगा यार first set का तो impression ये था, first slot का, that it is going to be difficult. But actually I found it easy, especially because of that DI set. एक तो DI का set, ऊपर से it was quite easy as well.
The data was easy to understand.
That made the whole section easy. क्योंकि एक सेट पूरा 5 क्वेश्चंस का अगर आसान मिल जाए श्रीनिवास, तो आई थिंक एकदम से पूरा सेक्शन आसान मिल
और इनिशियली मैंने सोचा कि वो ग्रिड लाइंस ज्यादा दिए नहीं, सो आई थॉट इट विल बी डिफिकल्ट टू कॉम्प्रिहेंड द नंबर्स, बट दे वर वेरी स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड. 35 40 45 50, इट वाज वेरी इजी.
5 के मल्टीपल्स में, मतलब पहले वाले ग्राफ में तो तकरीबन सभी 5 के मल्टीपल्स में थी.
सेकंड वाला आल्सो इट वाज 5, आई मीन multiples of 1, but it is easy to understand. If it is close to 30, then it is 29, or close to 20, it is 21.
Absolutely.
But that didn't matter actually, because they didn't ask us exact comparison. They're just saying which is the nearest, lowest or the highest. So even if there's a difference of one number here and there, it will not affect the final answer too much. So that's how it was.
Absolutely.
So they thought about all of this when they made the question, I believe.
I think generally CAT does that because they are not looking at your exact calculation.
Correct.
They are not looking for clerks. What they are looking for is some good managers who can just approximate things. That's more important. Okay, so let's first talk about the first impression of VARC section. I mean, what exactly how VARC was. So I think I and Srinivas, we both will talk about our experience about it very fast. So first of all, I felt that when I did the RC passages, so I just skimmed through all the 4 passages I found. In 2 of them, probably the words used were quite difficult. So I somehow skipped them initially. Then I went to the other 2 sets. In the set of this octopus, I started doing it. I saw difficult words, but actually those were useless. They were more of about definition of those words were also given in the paragraphs. So when I started doing it, I found that was a pretty straightforward set. I think, in my opinion, easiest among the 4. Then apart from the other 3 sets, I found one more easy set, but there was one thing that was there in my mind. It has always been there that whenever CAT asks something new, they always give it easy. So the para completion questions,
yes.
Generally, I mean, I have this assumption always there in my mind that it is going to be easy if it is something new. तो मुझे लगा आसान होंगे और वो करने के बाद मुझे लगा भी शायद आसान ही लग रहे थे. तो the questions of para completion, this para summary and para jumbles. So those were not very easy in my opinion.
Para
so,
jumbles, I tried to look at them. I spent about 2 or 3 minutes. I couldn't crack even one. I realized कि okay, para jumbles, this CAT is not for me. I left it, went to para summary, did that other 2 questions which are easy. Para summary was at least, again, para summary was also not very easy. There were, I think, only 1 question which is doable. The other 2 you have to be really good at the summary part to get the correct answers. So the entire VA, I would say, out of the 6 questions, 2 to 3 you could have got correct if you are an above average student. I'm talking about above average. If you are really good, probably 5 out of 8, but that's the max. It's very difficult to get all 3 or even 2 para jumbles correct in the slot number 2, and getting all 3 para summary also correct is very difficult. You definitely end up making 3 to 4 mistakes for sure, irrespective of how good you are. I mean, you have to be a genius to get probably more than 5 corrects. Right? At least that's my opinion of this particular VA.
And somehow I felt this, I would like to take your opinion as well, that this time in the sets, the vocabulary used, it was more difficult than the last time. I mean, this is what I felt.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I usually skip over any word which is lengthy. I'll look at it if it is actually required to me. So, in my opinion, there's no opinion for me because last year also I skipped the words. I know vocabulary ke upar they don't ask any questions, and here this time also when I come across a word which doesn't make sense, I'll just skip. But in the context, I know what the meaning is, so I'll just move over. So that doesn't register in my mind that what you're asking. So could be possible what you're saying, but I don't have a straightforward answer because that never registers in my mind whether the vocabulary was difficult or not. I skip over.
That's a pretty good approach then, I would say.
Pardon?
Okay. I'm saying that's a pretty good approach then, I would say.
Unnecessary stuff, I shift delete.
Of course. Because unnecessarily it puts a pressure on your mind as well, that there is something that you don't know at all and now you are going through it, you don't know whether you'd be able to understand it or not. That pressure always mounts up.
Right.
Okay, so if I talk about the second session now, DILR, as I have already talked about this, that there is one set from DI, 3 sets from LR which were there. We feel that 2 sets were doable, definitely the one from DI. Now the other doable set. So now there is a little, confusion over this. What exactly should we say was doable? There was a set which was about those, there was a guy who was a salesman.
3 salesmen.
Some houses. 3 salesmen, correct. T, U and some different names were there. And they were going into the houses and then he was also selling them the products.
Correct.
So that was one set. I remember it as the first set in my LRDI section. Then another one was that warehouse set. Now that warehouse set, in my opinion, apart from that DI set, was the easiest one among the 3. Reason is, I felt that you did not have to do much and the numbers were also not too many. Not many cases were formed. So I found it slightly on the easier side. Some people might have found it difficult because of those probabilities given. हालांकि उनका usage बहुत कम था. Probabilities का.
The only addition I would like to put here is if you're comparing these 2 sets, the salesman problem and the warehouse, salesman set, there are no cases at all. There's a single case, you crack it, 5 questions are done straight away. So now it's a question of, are you able to crack it or not? Because you spend 6 minutes and then next 1 minute, all 5 answers are done. So that's what happened. So I spent 6 minutes and 7th minute, set is over. I moved on. Whereas, I don't know, because I did not do the salesman one. So this is where you'll have to tell me, sir. Was the salesman one, the warehouse one having different cases and you have to take the question as per the case as per the question?
No, the warehouse question was actually more of a, I would say, on logic side, and it was not a set. The best part is, it was not a set in which you have to do a lot of hard work before going to the questions. So that's the best part of it. You straight away go to first question. If you are able to do it, good. If you are not able to do it, move to the second.
Okay.
So it's more like DI then in such a case. ऐसे question मुझे हमेशा इसलिए अच्छे लगते हैं क्योंकि ज़्यादा risky नहीं होते. ऐसा नहीं है कि बहुत ज़्यादा time devote करने के बाद पता लग रहा है.
I started with the first question. The first question I read was if Ahmedabad was a last. So the moment I read that if something was last, which means then I thought, okay, let me move on to the next set. And then I realized the next set is easily doable. So in fact, that was the last one, was the salesman problem.
Okay.
So that's the reason why I picked the salesman one over that.
I started with the salesman guy. मुझे salesman वाले से शुरू किया अच्छा लगा. खैर कुछ लोग पूछ भी रहे हैं उसके answers के बारे में. So I would just say कि मेरे जो first 2 questions थे salesman वाले के, उनके answers 35 और 38 आए थे. उसके बाद के तो वो options ही थे, याद नहीं होंगे. 2 TITA questions had answers of 35 and 38. Probably कुछ लोगों को figures याद होंगी, वो मैं बता दूं, शायद वो match कर जाएं. For the first guy whose name was T, he went to 10 houses on the first day and 40 houses the second day. The second person went to 49 houses the first day.
One house.
Second day he went to the one house. And the third person went to equal number of houses, that was 25.
Correct. 25. This is correct.
मेरे ख्याल से अगर ये तीनों फिगर अगर मैच कर जाएंगी तो शायद उसके बाद तो फिर सारे आंसर्स ठीक ही आ जाएंगे.
नहीं, there will be one small 25 is correct, 49 one is correct. I think there was the third one went to 15 more houses, right? In the second day than on the first day.
No, 30 more.
30 more. Yeah, then 10 and 40. Then 10 and 40. Then that is correct.
तो 10 और 40 आया मेरा भी आंसर.
I think that's fine.
और उसके बाद मैं टीटा कर रहा था तो 35 38
हाँ, so that's where I was. So when I
options
went to the question, I had a doubt because the options were in a range. I initially thought, ki, did I miss something? I mean, I got a concrete answer, but the options were all between 21 to 29, definitely about 10 and less than 50. Then I realized, acha, they didn't want us to use the options to get an answer, so they gave a range. So because it took me about 30 seconds to realize that fact, that they did not give us the options simply because they did not want us to substitute the options and get an answer out of it.
Exactly. अगर इसलिए नहीं कि वो उसमें cases बन रहे होंगे. That was probably the reason.
Because I double checked it in that 30-40 seconds whether all my equations are correct or not.
Then we went to the second set of this probability wala. I remember one of the answers being 210. बाकी सभी आंसर्स तो अब उतने सारे याद नहीं है, but definitely for one of the questions the answer was 200 and that was probably the last question of Tita. DI वाला set मेरे ख्याल से everyone would have done it anyways. It was a pretty easy set. Everyone would have got it if you tried that. वैसे भी हम लोगों ने पहले भी बात की थी मैराथन के टाइम पे भी talked about it that this is the good strategy. जे पहले तो जाते ही DI का सेट ढूंढो, अगर मिल जाए तो करो. Slot 1 had a disadvantage. There was no DI set, but here there was one single set. That was easy as well. That was the good part of it. तो जाते ही मेरे ख्याल से 5 क्वेश्चन मिलते ही कॉन्फिडेंस एकदम से रॉकेट में चला जाता है.
8-9 मिनट्स में खत्म, सेट खत्म.
हाँ, तो वो सबसे अच्छी बात है. एकदम से आपको लगेगा अरे 5 क्वेश्चंस तो हो गए. So I am already at something. इसके बाद हो या ना हो कोई ज्यादा चिंता वाली बात नहीं है. At least you get 5 questions, you start feeling good about it.
Yeah.
That's the best part of it. Okay. That was about DILR, I think. So I'll move ahead to QA now. Can you add something on it, Srinivas, for QA?
So QA, my first impression, and I already mentioned that. In fact, both of us did mention that, Saral, is this is not a paper where you can keep looking at getting the easier questions. In fact, the normal strategy that we tell the students, at least I advise all the students, is look, don't read lengthy questions, come back to it later, and any topic of not your choice, leave it, come back to it if time permits. But if you go by that strategy, I think the paper will get over in about 15 minutes and you'll start coming back with everything else left out. So normally what happens is in around 25 minutes time, a good student will be able to go through the entire 22 questions, but probably attempt around 8 questions or 10 questions. And then he'll have another 15 minutes, another 6 questions or so. So 16 to 18 questions, that's how the attempts go. But this time, I don't think that would have happened. Even if you spend the first 25, even 30 minutes, I don't think in the first round a student could have attempted more than 6 or 7 questions. 7, 8 max number of questions that could have been attempted. Last 10 minutes, probably another 3, 4 questions. So overall the paper was not an easy one compared to the morning slot. In fact, I would say it is like the last year or a little easier than last year, but yeah, it is comparable more to the last year than what I heard about the morning slot. In fact, Cyril, our students were saying that the paper was similar to our mock 20, the very last mock that we gave in the morning slot, that is.
Oh, that's great.
The reason why I'm talking about that is because normally all institutes, and we do that too, the last mock we make it easier so that it's a confidence booster to our students. So typically, deliberately, we keep the sections easier. So the QA section was easy for us, and if students are comparing the morning slot to the easier section of mock 20, I can understand how easy it was. But this was by no stretch of imagination like that.
No. I even did not find quant easy. I mean, as we discussed, no question was a sitter. Even the questions from arithmetic were difficult. Even questions from algebra were difficult. So geometry, I found 1 or 2 questions easy. But there was no single question from number system I saw. You can say that one question from right, wrong and unanswered questions, you might put it in number system. But even that question was extremely difficult.
It was not straightforward. It was not straightforward.
Yes. It was a difficult question, and answer for that is 28. So many people are actually waiting for it कि कुछ questions के answer बता दीजिए. Probably this is the main reason they are looking at this session कि एक बार questions के कुछ answer मिल जाए तो कुछ idea मिल जाता है. So I, Srinivas sir, Gaurav sir, we all have already talked about it. कुछ questions हम लोगों ने लिख लिए हैं. I'll be giving you the answers as well. Little idea about the questions along with the answers, so that you can get some idea कि क्या हो रहा है क्या नहीं हो रहा है. Okay, so let me just talk about these. Okay, so first question, there was a question of AP series where he talked about initially it is 100, finally it is 1000. then one
insect
out
and
of
organism.
10 was,
Some organism is multiplying.
some organism it reproduces and something like that. So the answer to that question was 19, as we have got. That was first question. Of course, about the factorial question, which is 15,000 factorial divided by
This I
something.
think was the only easier. In fact, I can classify this as a sitter. I don't think there's anything else, any other question that comes as a sitter directly. Probably a polygon wala aayega shayad, but that also will take a little bit more time compared to this. But I think this is the only one which is like you can do it in 30 seconds and move on.
और ये भी हमें रखना पड़ रहा है क्योंकि और सिटर मिल ही नहीं रहा है, तो चलो इसको सिटर बोल लेते हैं. बट एज वी बोथ टॉक्ड अबाउट इट कि जब हम लोग कर रहे थे हमें खुद भी डाउट हो रहा था, अरे यार 7 आंसर है, क्या उसके ऊपर वाला नंबर चेक करते हैं एक बार. वो भी वी हैव एक्चुअली डन इट. So there was a question of P and C in which 0, 1, 2,
Correct,
3,
4,
4 and 5 digits are there. So I think the answer to that question was 1200 if I'm not wrong.
1440 था शायद उसका.
अच्छा, तो मेरा और गौरव सर दोनों का 1200 आया.
So we have 4-digit numbers, 5-digit numbers and 6-digit numbers.
हाँ हाँ, वो सारे गिने हम लोगों ने, तो उसके हिसाब से एक बार फिर दोबारा चेक करेंगे. मतलब आपका 1440 आया.
हाँ 1440 because 5-digit numbers and 6-digit number आंसर तो सेम रहेगा, so into 2 हो जाएगा. And sorry, 5 and 6 and only 4-digit numbers is what you need to calculate. And 4-digit numbers में 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5 can come in the first place. And baki anything else can come. So I think I got that as 240 plus 600 plus 600, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but I remember it as
240 plus 480 plus 480, something like that.
अच्छा, okay.
चलिए वो
we'll figure that out.
इसका ये आंसर आज. हाँ जी, तो उसके बाद there was a question of simple interest as well, in which he said that
6%, 10%, 1%.
6%, 10%, 1%. In how many years the interest would be equal to the principal? I think it was coming out to 50 years. We got 50. I mean, I and Gaurav, Srinivas.
I got it as 20, I believe.
Acha, the return came out to be 0.3, and then we divided the principal by 0.3, and somehow we got 50 by that.
I remember it as 20. I don't know if 50 is correct there. I don't know. Malab, I could have made a mistake too. Okay.
Acha, many people are saying 20. So looks like 20 is correct then. बहुत सारे लोग 20 कह रहे हैं. So looks like 20 is correct then. Okay. So after that, then the next question was, it was once again a very long question, you know. This was an AP series given to us, and he did not ask the sum, he asked the sum of the sum of the series.
Correct. First of all, to understand that there are two parts in the difficulty. First, students should understand what is the meaning of the question. Understand what is the series being formed. After understanding...
I mean, this symbol in itself.
So normally CAT क्या करता है, if there is a question which is difficult to understand, it is easy to solve. This is not like that. First of all, understanding that series is difficult, and once you get it, you'll realize the solving of the series is also not easy. So I think this was one of the very difficult questions in the entire paper. Not because the theory is not known, but even if you know everything, it's lengthy. That's the point in this particular
question. Still it is lengthy. I mean, we knew about it, still इतना ज़्यादा time लगा उसमें. Okay, factorial वाला question तो बता चुके हम लोग 7 answer है, just put the values and by that you would check.
Yeah.
So we got the answer as 455 for this question. Now the next question, there was a question on triangles in which he said that there's a point D here which divides the areas in a ratio of 2:1, and it was an equilateral triangle. He asked you about the length of AD. So the answer of that question was √7. Answer of this question was √7.
Oh, equilateral triangle. This is an easy one then, because I somehow skipped this. Geometry is not my cup of tea.
It was given that it was equilateral.
Because equilateral है 2:1. I think the base basically is what matters there.
Then it became actually easy. So another question where he was asking AD by BE, where we got the answer as √2 sin theta.
Yeah.
Okay, that was also one of the questions. And there was a question on regular polygon. So the sides are in a ratio of 1:2 and
3:4.
3:4. So the answer was 10 for that.
Correct.
He asked you that what is the number of sides in polygon.
Sir, we'll have to write it slightly on the below the PPT, because I'm covering the thing that you're writing.
Acha. Oh yes. I would write it on the other side. Then there was a question of cubic equation where the roots were minus r and r. There were other roots as well. The answer to that question was minus
9/2.
9/2.
Yeah.
Another question, x square minus 10 raised to the power x square minus 3x minus 10 is equal to 1.
This I made a mistake, and I'm sure quite a few students would have done the same mistake. The answer is 4 integral solutions. You'll have to figure out that even the base can be -1, which I missed actually. That's a good point you mentioned.
Rather, there
that
is
time.
something important actually here, that exactly the same kind of question has appeared in 2019
Yes,
or 18
it has come.
as well.
It has
I
come. This is
remember
not the
that.
first time this type of question is coming.
Yes, some quadratic to the power quadratic
Correct.
is equal to 1. Exactly the same question was there. So this time the answer was 4 for it. Then another question, that average of some numbers was 38 and Amit is the guy who is having the least score.
Correct.
The difference between highest and lowest of his scores, it was 20. His highest score could have been 31, the lowest score could have been 11. So 31 minus 11 was 20. Then there was a question, a person who earns 4,000 rupees per month.
Correct. So that I
Right?
think was
And, he wants a-
4,400.
Right, a saving of 550 per month. So what should he earn in the last 3 months? So that was 4,500.
4,400, I guess.
Oh yes.
37 plus 700 आएगा. Yeah.
Yes. It was 4,400. Then another question, 75 questions with and a person had got 97 marks.
Yeah, this is again
So
a lengthier
what
one.
can be the number of right questions? It was very lengthy. I mean, even if you make equations, after
In fact,
being lengthy, it was tricky as well.
we made a DI set on a similar basis actually. In one of our mocks,
okay.
but definitely I didn't expect one part of that DI set to come as a part of quant, because it was lengthy. In a DI set it still makes sense, because 10 minute laga do, you'll get 4 questions or 5 questions, 6 questions, that's okay. Here it doesn't make sense,
Right.
because that logic is being used only for one question and it's lengthy.
Right. Okay, so the next question after that was a question of right angle triangle, in which probably some 2 people were running. And
Correct.
this side was 60, and he was asking you about the speed of this guy.
18.
That was 18 kilometer per hour.
18.
So
Actually,
was the
that could have
answer
been
of this
done with
question.
options also. This is one question, but again, you have to.
Oh yes, even I did it with the options actually.
So I actually formed the
Otherwise,
quadratic equation, then instead of solving it, I started using the options. Then I realized, why did I solve it in the first place? Because right angle triangle ka hypotenuse square, I used it. And then I realized, anyway that number, the constant was too big for me to solve. So I thought, okay, let me make use of the options. And then it struck me after 5 seconds, why did I not do that in the beginning itself? I could have just substituted options and been done with it.
Absolutely. And another question about voters. So Gaurav sir has written 62,800.
Correct. That is correct.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and yes, a student is also writing, one of the questions was a plus 2b
Equal to
is
6.
equal to 6. I remember that.
Maximum
It's
and
been
minimum
or
values. 3
maximum
average of that. I think the answer is 3 for that.
3 or 4.5. I think around that only, because a plus b maximum and a plus b minimum. So I think maximum would be equal to 6
Correct.
when you take a as 6 and b as 0.
Correct.
And minimum would be equal to 3 when you take a as 0 and b as 3. So the average was coming out to be 4.5, I think.
No, if A is 0 and B is 6, then A plus B will be...
A0 then, no. A0 hai to B3 hoga na, because A plus 2B is 6.
A plus 2B is 6, okay.
Oh yes, many people are also writing 4.5.
Then I made a
Looks
mistake.
like this
Yeah,
time
I made a
beat.
mistake there then.
एक आपने मेरा गलत करा है, एक मैंने आपका गलत करा दिया. Now we are even. Okay. And also, guys, I think we have discussed around 17-18 questions till now. So please do press the like button as well. We see around 225 people are watching. Only 61 likes are there. That's not justified at all. And yes, if you have any other question in your mind, of course you can talk about that. शायद हाँ log वाला question जरूर था. A question on logarithm. I got the answer as 47.
And that is a theta. मैंने logarithm, inequality,
That was a theta.
तीनों देख के मैंने छोड़ दिया वहीं पे.
I think the most difficult question in the whole paper. मुझे ऐसा लगा कि शायद काफी ही मुश्किल था. तो log वाले question का मेरे हिसाब से आंसर 47 आया है. बाकी एक बार लोग बताएं. कुछ बच्चे बोल रहे बोट वाला question था. Do you remember?
No, that is the same thing I think. Sailing west and south.
अच्छा यही वाला ना, 18 जिसका आंसर हम लोगों ने
18
लिखा है. We wrote the answer as 18 है ना. So log वाले का आंसर we got 47. And any other, I think there was a question of that functions as well.
Yeah, f of x square minus x.
X square minus x.
I think that was 1. The answer for that one was 1.
Okay, I don't remember the answer, but Srinivas sir says 1. But itna pakka hai, there was a series of -4, 5, -4, 5, है ना?
Yeah, correct.
Okay,
All f of
one,
even
f of
numbers
two,
was -4 and f of odd numbers was 5. So the two additions, f of g of 25 and g of f of 5, something like that, one will turn out to be f of an odd number and one will be turning out to be f of a negative even number. So you will get the same even plus odds of 5 and minus 4.
I don't remember the answer, but I remember kuch aisa hi
there's one time and work. Time and work, there's one question. 3 people.
Time and work pe, yes, 3 people. Yes, I think it was the first question in my. They can do the job in 4 days or something like that. I think for that the answer was 6 hours. I got 6 hours as the answer. They were working 8 hours a day or something like that. And he asked that in how many hours that one person can do the job. So I got the answer as 6. So anyone else from the class? Shivam is also saying 6 hours. Do you remember the answer?
I actually got it higher than that because, in fact, I'm just thinking back. 4 days, 8 hours for 3 people, and now 2 people have worked for how many days was that?
I think they worked for 6 days, if I'm not wrong.
But less than 8 hours. So
they worked for 6 hours 40 minutes.
Correct, and only 2 people. So the thing is, the entire work, which means you're talking about 1 day for the third person. The entire work is completed by the third person in less than 1 day. I don't think that is possible that way. If you think back like that, because if you're saying 6 hours, so it's 8 hours per day. So you're saying that it's less than 1 day left of work left out for that one person. When 2 people are working for, I think I got the answer as 12 point something.
Acha, but chat mein many people are getting 6. Looks like I got another answer wrong for you then.
Okay.
I'm feeling happy. Not because you got wrong.
I'll need to check that because I thought about it. I thought about it logically also. My numbers might be off, but I'll check it once again because this I was quite sure. 6 hours 40 minutes is what they worked for, 2 people, and I just remember how many days they worked for. Anyway, I think.
Okay, there was a question of sugar syrup as well. Some people are talking about that. The answer for which was 5:6, right? I mean, half of the contents of sugar are mixed with syrup, the other one milk. Then half of the contents of that are mixed with the first one.
Left and right, left and right.
The contents are once again put there. So finally, I think the ratio asked was, opposite of what
the typical cat.
So उन्होंने उल्टा करके पूछा, हाँ, typically cat वाला. और 6:5 भी options में था, 5:6 भी options में था. So answer to that question was probably 5:6. So that's another question. अगर और कोई question याद आएगा तो मेरे ख्याल से students ही याद दिला देंगे. अभी तक मुझे याद नहीं आ रहा. If there are, yes, there was a question of parabola as well. Right? Where he said that f of minus 2, f of 2 is 0 and f of 4 is 6.
Correct, and f of minus 2.
So answer to that question was, it was 24. Yes, it was 3/2 times of 16. I remember this. We got a as 3/2 and then into 16. So 3/2 times of 16, 24 was the right answer for that question.
Okay.
So someone is asking f4 वाले का शायद श्रीनिवास सर ने बताया है या उसका आंसर शायद 1 आ रहा है.
f of 4
इसके बारे में अगर बात करें. या f of 2 की बात कर रहे हैं.
This is different one.
इसने f of minus 2 पूछा.
f of 4 is and f of minus 2 are both in the same one because f of 2 was given as 0, f of 4 was given as 6, and f of minus 2 was asked. I think that's what he's asking. Insane.
हाँ, ठीक है. तो इसके बारे में तो उन्होंने 24 ही आंसर था, if I'm not wrong. और मेरे ख्याल से और कोई हम लोगों को अगर क्वेश्चन शायद दिखाई देगा तो बात करेंगे. But I think we have already talked about 20-21 questions. We would have hardly left any. Yes, there was a question of that as well. There is a non-decreasing.
Correct, non-decreasing
A1, A2, A3.
Correct.
Up to AN, and the average of the AP was 13. So the answer of this question, though we are not very sure of the answer, but I got 3. Gaurav sir actually didn't do it. Srinivas, do you remember doing this question?
No, I didn't do this. I left this.
Because I got 5A1 is equal to 100 and A1 is 20. उसके बाद काफी लोगों को लगा कि करना क्या है, but he said it was an increasing AP, so I said that 300 by n से कम होना चाहिए था. Average से तो छोटा होना चाहिए था.
Okay.
By that I got 3 as the answer. So this is one another question that I had tried. I think that should have been the last question. I think we have discussed all the questions. कुछ और भी याद आएगा तो बात कर लेंगे. Now I think we can move ahead, right?
Yeah. Let's move on to the next slide.
थोड़ा सा yes. Let's talk about verbal ability and reading comprehension. I'll go to you, Srinivas, for this. You are a better person for it.
So I think we've already discussed that quite a bit, Saral, but I'll quickly go through the summary part of it for verbal ability.
Right.
Para summary, Two, in fact, para summary, yeah, three में से I think two could have been done. In fact, I would say one was easy, one was moderate, one was difficult in my opinion. But again, my verbal faculty members overruled me. But whenever I hear my faculty, my verbal colleagues talking about it, I always say that, okay, that's your forte, तो आपके लिए तो easy होगा ही. So that's what I go with. So in my opinion, I would say one easy, one moderate, one difficult. Difficult wala was actually very difficult. It was, you can't figure out which option is correct. But two of them could have been done. Para completion, both definitely very easy. You read it once, think a little bit, the answer is there. Within a minute, you'll be done with both of them. And para jumbles, as expected, in fact, not as expected, I always expect one easy para jumble. Or normally I keep telling students that if you get three, one will be easy for you. Search for that. Unfortunately, here all three were not easy. So in fact, you can argue about it whether it's moderate or difficult, but definitely it is not easy. So this is three questions, 3 marks that a student could have scored, but again, not going to happen this time easily. So all in all, the verbal ability was a bit difficult compared to what was expected, but the only saving grace is the 2 para completions. Normally odd para jumbles would be easy, moderate or something like that, but in place of that we had 2 para completion, but to compensate for that, the easy para jumble has been taken out. So somehow they made sure that this section is a little bit more difficult than what was expected, but not too much to complain about, because we have 2-3 questions which were easier compared to what was, para completion was easier, para jumbles was slightly difficult, para summary was as per expectation, so that's okay. So that's what happens.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. So RC slot 2, when we talk about the RC thing, so though we have already talked about a little bit already, that out of the 4 sets, we had 4 sets of 4 questions each. So RCs were slightly lengthy as well this time, and one RC I found pretty easy. One was on the moderate side, but the other 2 were very difficult, and going by Srinivas sir's approach, actually the other 2 RCs, even I was finding out that I am not able to actually understand them in the very first read. So probably I have to give it 2 reads or 3 reads to understand that what exactly the set was saying. So I found them a little difficult, and later on, our experts are also saying that RCs were slightly more difficult if I talk about 2 of them, and especially that part that we talked about, Srinivas, that the kind of questions that were there.
So normally the rule of thumb is that if the RCs are easy to understand, the questions will be slightly tricky, and vice versa. And this time the former happened. So the octopus one, I think this is the only exception, where probably one question was a bit dicey, but 3 of them were doable. But all the other 3 RCs, either they were lengthy, a little bit lengthy, or difficult to understand. But I think one passage was like that. The other 2 passages you can understand. I'm not saying it easy, but you can understand. But the questions were, they were like bouncers coming at you one after the other. Mostly inference based, tone, central idea of the passage, and the options were very confusing. There were 2-3 options where I found that I had to go back. So I marked the answer, went to the next question, and while solving it, I realized, I made a mistake, went back and changed it again. So ऐसे 2-3 बार हुआ मेरे साथ. So I'm pretty sure that the questions and options were not very straightforward. They were tricky, if not difficult, which anyway increases the difficulty level.
Right. So out of these ones, I found this octopus one slightly better side, and humans make music. These were the 2 sets I could understand easily, but the other 2 sets were slightly more difficult for me. So I actually left those 2. So you would say that, have you done this set? I actually did not do it.
Which one?
It is written that it was on the ECS, the engineering tech.
I have read that. It was easy to understand, but the questions were not easier to do, at least. Because the passage you can understand, but the options which were asking about the questions and the options which were related to that were close enough. It was not a straightforward answering for that. You have to think about it once or twice to get the correct answer. So yeah, it is easy to understand.
Might be easy to read.
Easier to read, easy to understand and read, but in fact, I felt the humans make music was the slightly more irritating set is what I felt. Octopus and institutions, somehow institutions I understood it faster than the humans make music. That probably tells that I'm not a music person. But whatever. I like listening to music, but
everyone is a music person.
Whatever.
So actually, this said it that everyone is a music person. So I think you would have, if you would have read it, you would have found
in
that
fact,
you are
it
a
was,
music person.
I'm sitting there and saying that I'm not a music person, but probably that's one reason why I didn't find it easier. Whatever, but yeah, I think in fact, of the three, I think Octopuses has been marked as moderate by our faculty members, but I think we both agree that reading part, at least
Yes, it
Octopus was
the
easier.
easiest, sir.
At least from people with basic tech background, understanding reflection of light and all will be very easy. So I think probably that's one thing why we would probably find something like this easier also, I guess.
Because actually, when I started doing this set, I saw that there were lot many difficult words, but then I thought that those are more of scientific words. So
those are not words which even
a
a normal good English student will know, because these are biological terms they're talking about, or scientific terms that they're talking about. So you don't need to know the meaning of the word because they were anyway explained as a part of the reading.
Right,
so that's fine.
So we'll move on quickly to DILR as well. So we have already talked about it. So there were 4 sets. One was DI scatter plot, and we feel that was definitely a doable set. When I talk about LR set of roots and networks, so as I said, though you might see that 3 sets we have written doable here. Yes, actually they were doable. But
which 2 or 2.5 you pick is a question.
Yes, exactly. So actually, out of these 2, I can say on one of them I can write doable, and on the other one I can say half of the set. So but do any one of them, salesman वाला या roots and networks वाला कोई भी एक कर लेते हैं और दूसरे वाला आधा. I think that is doable. Not all 3 were doable in my opinion within 40 minutes. So roots and networks में कुछ तो ये भी होता है ना. Sometimes people are afraid of probability. देख के डर गए होंगे. मेरे ख्याल से बहुत लोगों ने ना शुरू का डेटा देख के छोड़ दिया होगा. अरे probability की बात हो रही है एक LRDI के सेट के अंदर. We are not going to do it. In my opinion, many people.
I was actually happy about it, but the moment I read the first, as I said, first question I read, if Ahmedabad is the last, then I realized, achha, there are cases in this, let's leave out. Because the reason why I left was a different reason. Because I like probability and I like roots and networks. The 2 things which I like came as a combo, but the options probably deceived me. The questions probably deceived me.
And rather, if you would have seen that, Srinivas, I mean, जो ये FDA वगैरह वाला set था.
FDA was more difficult. It was not as.
But ऐसा ही set पहला CAT में देखा नहीं हम लोगों ने. I remember something like that.
It has come before. It has come before. But I think I'm not in the last few.
Tree बनता था.
It's not an easy thing. You have to get the structure correctly. If you get the structure correctly, then everything will fit into place. If you don't get the structure correctly, then that's gone.
They made it difficult by giving some having FD approval, some having EU, and some having both.
So had it not been both, it would have been very easy. Venn diagram, 3 parameter Venn diagram in and out ho jata. But here the difference is 2 of them were either or, 0 1 0 1, which means cosmetic and something else, and foreign and domestic. So it cannot be both. But only the 3rd parameter, both are also possible. The moment you have both of them also possible, then that becomes a problem. A simple Venn diagram cannot be used.
End में जाके एक Venn diagram type सा बन जा रहा था. Otherwise everything was okay. तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं आती.
Yeah, then it would have been a simpler case, but that's the only thing which made it difficult. FD and EU LSR.
Right. Hanji, if we do a comparison of slot 1 and slot 2, as we have already talked about it, slot 2 is slightly on the easier side with respect to slot 1, especially the reason is data interpretation set, which was not there previously. तो ये एक मेजर डिफरेंस है. वहाँ पे ये मॉडरेट टाइप का एक सेट आ गया अरेंजमेंट का, यहाँ पे एक डुएबल सेट आ गया. अदरवाइज बाकी दोनों यहाँ भी डुएबल थे, एक यहाँ भी डिफिकल्ट था, वहाँ भी डिफिकल्ट था. एंड दैट वन DI set probably have made a difference of 2 to 3 questions, and therefore
easily, because it's not just a normal set, it is a sitter in my opinion. So a lot of difference would have been created because of that one set. Assuming that 2 to 3 questions worth of marks will come to your play in the second.
I'm sure बहुत लोगों को इसका फायदा भी हुआ होगा, because actually इससे just पहले 2 दिन पहले we were having this marathon. We talked about it कि जाते ही पहले DI के सेट में जाके
search for it.
DI ढूंढना और DI मिल जाए तो कर लेना, और वही हुआ. DI का एक सेट आया और वो इतना आसान था कि 5 questions people would have got within 7-8 minutes of initial 40 minutes. अब आपके पास अगर half an hour बचा हो और आपको पता हो 5 questions कर चुके हैं, your confidence would be sky high at that moment.
Yes, so that will give you a lot of boost for the remaining 2 or 3 sets. So that's good actually if you start with the DI scatter plot.
Right. Can you continue with the QA part?
Yeah.
Have it on the screen now.
So arithmetic, normally we expect it to be at least 4 questions, half the paper of arithmetic to be easy. This time I would not say the arithmetic was very easy. Yes, they were doable questions, but it's a bit on the higher side in terms of difficulty compared to expected, because normal expectation is arithmetic is doable for everyone. But they were this time, out of the 8 questions I believe, 2 से 3 ऐसे थे which will take time. Especially that mixture wala, when you're mixing from here to there and there to here, and there's no direct way of doing it in my opinion. So there were 1 or 2 questions like that. Algebra, yes. The other problem that I had in this paper of quant was, always I tell students that look, algebra is given to you to scare you, because normally the people who are not with the math background, the moment they see a function, the moment they see a modulus, they get scared. But if you understand the concept, the question is easier. Normally algebra is expected to be easier. That's the logic. This time it defies that logic. The questions in algebra were scary looking and scary doing, both. So I would not say the algebra part was easy at all. This is an exception this year's paper. Number system, last year we had, I think, 0 to 1 or 0 to 2 questions in number system, depending upon the slot. There were, in fact, last year, first slot, there were 0 number system questions. But this year, we had 3 questions and all of them not easy. So once again, this was something which was not expected. Number theory, number systems, questions were supposed to be doable in CAT, but again, this time CAT took it a notch higher. Modern math again came back. Last year there was 0 modern math, or 0 or 1 question max, but this time modern math came back to us with 3 questions coming its way from its section. So, but again, the good point is, if you get the idea for modern math, you could have done it. Even in the morning slot, I believe there's 1 question where 4 people were given some kind of chocolates or balloons or something like that, and how many ways of distributing it where everybody gets an even number, not an odd number. So if you get the logic, it is straightforward. So even today I believe modern math was, if you get the logic, you can do it, not too much of a problem.
Okay, in the morning slot they are saying there were 2 questions of modern mathematics, and we have written 3 over here. So okay, so did we have 3 questions from modern maths? I don't remember that.
1 PNC was 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is one I remember.
Right.
Then
I don't think any question. I think they might have put some questions from trigonometry here. The 1 question which I had answer of root 2 sine theta.
But that is not modern math. Typically PNC. Is there anything on Venn diagram? Any question on Venn diagram that has come?
No, I don't remember anything on Venn diagram. Don't remember making Venn diagram in the
PNC. I remember only 1 question then. So, but let's recheck once again.
Possibly some questions from algebra are here. Looks like ऐसा लग रहा है मेरे को. तो कहीं कोई topic शायद इसमें डाल दिया है. But yes, I remember only 1 question from modern mathematics.
Guys, any of you remember anything else from modern math? PNC, probability. There's no question on probability for sure, I think.
Probability
Venn diagram.
नहीं था, set theory नहीं था. Only trigonometry can be there, I think, if they might have put it there. But ये पक्का है that what you are saying, algebra में मुझे भी लगा. Even that cubic equation question was not easy.
It was not easy. I mean, you need to think through it and then get the answer.
Question. Yes.
There's one more. The last question.
वाला question was not easy.
Last 1 or 2 questions में भी एक था a quadratic polynomial. That is also. I mean, you need to understand what do they mean by that and then get the answer.
Right. Even that logarithm wala
logarithm was definitely not an easy one. And see, there are 3 things in it: logarithms, inequalities. Both of them are conceptual in nature, and it's a theta on top of that.
Right.
So you can't even say you make a small mistake here and there, the counting goes for a toss and the question is gone. Not worth attempting it.
So now we'll come to the most important part that many people are actually looking for.
Cutoffs.
That is score versus percentile. कि कितने score पे कितना percentile आ सकता है. That many people have already asked about it. So कि ये बता दीजिए कि इस score पे कितना percentile आ जाएगा, इस पे कितना. Let's talk about that now. So we have that slide over here. So where we have marks in CAT 2020, and now we are going to talk about 2022 here in this column. Of course, these are the first impressions. Things might change a little bit here or there, though of course it's well thought of. ऐसा नहीं है कि हमने एक आदमी ने कुछ पेपर दिया और उसने लिख दिया अपने आप से. So we have a team, appearing for the exam. We all discussed with each other, and we have taken inputs from the students as well. On that, we have reached to this conclusion. It might go a little bit, above or below, probably by 1 or 2 marks, not more than that. But these are the scores I think we would be having these percentiles. 99.9 percentile would be somewhere around 120, 99.9.5 is around 110. A 99 score can be expected at 97 to 100. So many of you would be looking for this particular score here, that is 99 percentile. So a 97 to 100, 97 to 100, that means an approximately 33 questions in the paper. And in my opinion, a good student would have done that by, अगर मैं तीनों में एक bifurcation करूं तो LRDI में it was easy to score 12 to 13 questions because it was slightly on the easier side with respect to the slot 1. When I talk about quantitative ability, I think in quantitative ability as well, 10 to 11 questions, though the paper was slightly on the difficult side, but still 10 to 11
in quant actually is a difficult paper, that means. There's no doubt, because
it was
the good guys usually attempt around 14, 15, but if it is coming down 10 to 11, it's a difficult paper, no doubt.
See, we have got the questions, still we are looking for easy questions.
Correct.
हम ये बोल सकेंगे,
we can't classify anything as easy.
We are not able to find. Absolutely. And in VARC as well, I think a good student would have done 12 to 13 questions easily.
Getting 40 is not an easy thing. So 40 in any of the sections, anyway, LRDA 40 is never considered. But even in quant and VARC this year, getting 40 means you have done a very, very good job. So that's how the papers were.
Bilkul. Absolutely. So a balanced score in all three of them could have taken you easily to 99 percentile with a score of 97 to 100. So in my opinion, these are the figures that our team has come up with. So 95 percentile for an average student who would be looking for a 95 percentile, it would be there at approximately 24 questions. I think you can check it section wise as well. मिला के देखो एक बार कि कितना आपके questions बनते हैं net correct. So around 70-72 you can expect a 95 percentile, and at around 60 it's.
In fact, quite a few of the students were asking when will the paper come out. So guys, normally the paper is expected to be out in the first 10 days. So don't be surprised by the first week of December you get the paper officially given out by the CAT convener. So keep a lookout for that. We'll let you guys know.
मिल जाता है.
Yeah, first week of December you'll get to know, and as soon as that is there, we will come up with the score calculator where you can just upload the sheet that is given to you when you download it from the CAT website, and you'll get your corrects and wrongs and the total score. So that we will have it ready within probably few hours of the paper being released. And the most important part, yes, slot 3 is ongoing. 1 hour I think is done. It's 5:30, so 1 more hour left. I think Gautam and Savitri ma'am, both of them will come here and take the analysis at 8:30. So 2 hours after the exam. They're coming from quite far away places. They have been sent to different parts of the city, I believe. I think I'm the only lucky one from the team, as I said. So guys, slot 3 analysis will be done at 8:30. You can come back and see how the paper was, so that you get to know overall what kind of a score are we looking at.
Right, and as we have already talked about it, you are going to have this CAT score calculator as well. That's going to be very important for you, because at this stage everyone wants to know that how much am I going to score, because lot many things are dependent on that as well, and possibly you might have exceeded your expectations. Because of that, your next few exams can go better. You feel more confident, and if it is not that good as per your expectations, probably you can work harder then for the next upcoming exam. So this is definitely going to be a very important tool for you. We have already discussed some questions. I'm sure you would have got some idea that okay, what score you are expecting now, and from that you can expect a little bit about your percentile as well. So as Srinivas just talked about, at 8:30 we'll be having the next analysis of slot 3, and very soon we'll be having a combined analysis of all 3 slots as well. Of course, once the complete picture is out, तो पता लग जाएगा कहाँ क्या हुआ है, कहाँ LRDA difficult है. तो जहाँ LRDA easy आया होगा, थोड़ा सा उसको normalize भी करेंगे, थोड़ा score कम हो जाएगा. So that's also possible. So वो सारी चीजें करके ultimately what is going to happen will be coming up with you with that analysis as well pretty soon. Okay. So that's all for today. Thank you very much. Thank you
guys. Thank you, sir. Hopefully we'll catch you in the next analysis. I think the next exam is MyCat. Next Sunday, so I'm taking MyCat and I'll be doing the analysis for MyCat. So guys, I hope I'll be catching you there. All the very best for your preparation for the remaining exams.
And yes, Divyansh, as you are getting 12 answers for that, so Even I got 12, so we differ a little bit, so therefore we are not coming up with the answer of that particular question. So even my answer was 12. I hope that both are correct. जिसका 12 आया हो वो भी correct हो जाए, 1 आया तो वो भी हो जाए. But let's see what happens in the actual exam.
Sure.
Okay guys, so that's all for today. We are also available on all these media handles. You can find us there. So that's all from my side and Srinivas sir. So that's all today guys.
Thank you guys. See you in the next analysis.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Is it done? Yeah.